results of years of Republican neglect. The highest unemployment in 8 years. The Republicans actually stalled the extension of unemployment benefits, blocked a middle-class tax cut that would help the economy, cut Medicare for older Americans, and tried to cut college aid. The highest unemployment in Florida in 9 years. 593,000 people out of work, and the worst economy since the Great Depression. Aren't you ready to say enough is enough? Vote Democratic for a change.
At 2 News, we follow up on stories.
We follow the trail.
It's like to be shot. I know what it's like to be dead.
The season premiere of L.A. Law.
What if he doesn't live?
NBC next Thursday.
Bob Graham started his workday program at Carroll City High School in 1974. So it's no surprise that as a senator, he returns again and again to the classroom. His work for Florida's children is based on first-hand experience. Today, Bob Graham is working to build new classrooms for new students. Their future depends on retraining to provide the skills they need for the jobs of the future. Because Bob Graham knows that in today's economy, education is a lifelong process. Bob Graham, working for Florida.
It's your story.
We got a jumping jack with your name on it down there.
You do? Huh?
Bob Graham has worked about every job in Florida, doing his work days side by side with the people he represents. So it's no surprise that Graham's first priority is putting Florida back to work. He's working to save jobs and create new ones. Graham is leading the charge to cut the deficit. He's making the tough choices. Bob Graham, working for Florida.
If you're going to be president, you have to be honest.
Bill Clinton is telling anything honestly to the American people.
The man just tells people what they want to hear.
About dodging the draft.
I think he's full of hot air.
I wouldn't trust him at all to be commander-in-chief.
I think there's a pattern, and I just don't trust Bill Clinton.
I don't think he's honorable, and I don't think he's trustworthy.
You can't have a president that says one thing and does another.
It scares me. He worries me, and he'll just go one way or another.
They were called protective orders. Companies using the legal system to keep dangerous secrets from us. Secrets about products that have caused injury and even death.
I won't name the company, but my wife's lucky to be alive.
One man, one state senator said no more secrets. He was the one that made Florida the first state in the nation to outlaw those deadly protective orders. Senator Dick Langley. He makes people mad. Mad enough to do the right thing.
That'd be nice.
2020 is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
This is ABC.
In Washington, they call this space exploration. In Florida, we call it jobs and opportunity. In Washington, short-sighted politicians want to siphon money away for quick-fix pork barrel projects. In Florida, we're building skills and industry for the future. Jim Backus has fought in Washington to protect the space program and keep our people hard at work.
It creates more jobs.
Jim Backus, in tune with our future.
How do you recognize a truly superior?
Just look for this famous portrait.
Chiquita Bananas every day at Winn-Dixie.
There is a mountain growing in Washington, a mountain of debt. It's the federal deficit. Bob Graham's doing something about it. He has a plan that's tough and fair, a balanced budget amendment to keep spending under control, a line-item veto for the president, federal spending cuts, economic growth, and new revenues. Bob Graham knows it can be done. He balanced 8 budgets in a row as governor. Bob Graham, working for Florida.
Need help? Only check.
7-2 Atlanta. We're back in just a moment.
1988.
We will be able to produce 30 million jobs in the next 8 years.
Under George Bush, more private sector jobs have been lost than have been created.
And I am an environmentalist.
The Sierra Club says Bush allowed his administration to, quote, gut clean air rules.
I want to be the education president.
George Bush tried to cut college aid for families making over $20,000 a year.
I want a kinder and gentler.
We can't afford 4 more years.
Far from Bourbon Street, in its own little Ever served in an infantry unit, son?
No, sir.
Ever served in a forward area?
No, sir.
Ever put your life in another man's hands, asked him to put his life in yours?
No, sir.
We follow orders, son. We follow orders or people die. It's that simple. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Are we clear?
Crystal.
All those having business with this General Court-Martial, stand forward and you shall be heard.
The facts of the case are these. On midnight of September 6th, the accused entered the barracks room of their platoon mate. They woke him up, tied his arms and legs with tape, and forced a rag into his throat. A few minutes later, a chemical reaction caused his lungs to begin bleeding. He drowned in his own blood and was pronounced dead at 37 minutes past midnight.
Do you think Santiago was murdered?
Private Santiago is dead, and that is a tragedy. But he is dead because he had no code. He is dead because he had no honor. And God was watching.
How do you feel about that theory?
Sounds good to me.
I'll knock it all down to involuntary manslaughter.
No deal, we're going to court.
No, you're not.
Why not?
Because you'll lose.
You want to investigate me? Roll the dice and take your chances. I eat breakfast 300 yards from 4,000 Cubans who are trained to kill me, so don't think for 1 second you can come down here, flash a badge, and make me nervous.
You men follow orders or people die.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth. Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with guns. Who's gonna do it? You?
If this case is handled in the same fast food, slick-ass Persian bazaar manner with which you seem to handle everything else, then something's gonna get missed.
In the heart of the nation's capital, in a courthouse of the United States government, one man will stop at nothing to keep his honor, and one will stop at nothing to find the truth.
A Few Good Men starring Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, and Demi Moore will begin drafting audiences December 11th.
That's the state capitol. Mighty peaceful, huh? But that's misleading. In there they argue, they bicker, cajole, fight, but they don't seem to get much done. There's one young man running for state senate this year who's as fed up with do-nothing politics as you are. Buddy Dyer. He won't listen to the special interests. He'll fight to get health care for the 2 million Floridians who don't have it. He'll fight to strengthen our kids' schools. Elect Buddy Dyer for state senate. He'll put Florida's future first. Florida's future. Our kids can have a good future and realize their dreams if we elect new legislators who will fix Florida's broken education system. Legislators like Buddy Dyer. Let's send a state senator to Tallahassee with a plan that will turn Florida's education system around. Buddy Dyer for state senate.
Healthcare in America is in critical condition. We are pumping more money into it than any other nation. Yet 37 million Americans have no coverage, and soaring costs are bleeding our families, our businesses. But healthcare can still be saved if we act now. If we choose a candidate who can form an alliance between public and private sectors to restore accountability. If we choose a leader who will work to put a basic benefits package within reach of all Americans, to establish prevention programs that dramatically lower long-term costs. There is no instant remedy, but the first step in the recovery process is November 3rd. time to waste our votes on politics as usual. It is time for a candidate who will get down to business. It is time for Ross Perot.
Denorex is my shampoo now.
Read my lips.
Remember?
You will be better off 4 years from now than you are today.
Well, it's 4 years later. How you doing?
You haven't talked to your kids about drugs.
Most Saturdays, Congressman Jim Backus and caring people sweat to make Florida a little better.
If the bureaucrats in Washington decide to paint this wall, they'd paint it with red ink.
Jim calls it Citizen Saturdays. It's about plain old common sense.
We don't wait on Washington to solve our problems for us. We get out and pitch in and do it ourselves.
Common sense. That's why he supports a balanced budget amendment, and common sense is why he knows government can't solve all our problems. Jim Backus, a different kind of congressman.
America's health care is called the best in the world, but that doesn't mean much to those who can't afford it. Right now, there are scores of proposed bills in Congress, each promising to bring affordable health care and each with a different price tag. Getting the right bill enacted into law, one which we can afford, will take leaders with the right mix of compassion and responsibility. That's our own Bill McCollum, working to make health care reform a reality in America.
If you see important news happening, call Channel 9 at 841 News.
The political pros in Tallahassee would love to have this man in their club. They could use another vote to try to pass the largest tax increase in state history, and Clay Henderson may be their man.
Haven't we had enough of them?
Locke Burt belongs to nobody's club. In just 1 year, he's turned Tallahassee upside down and saved us millions. Your choice, Clay Henderson and career tax and spenders, or Locke Burt, shaking them up and getting it done.
Once there were calm days and balmy nights where children played at evening time. Dad brought home the bread and Mom only had to call us once for dinner. Was it a lifetime ago or only yesterday? Will our kids have the same chance we did? They will if Toni Jennings has anything to say about it. She passed the Safe Schools Act. She introduced legislation to win more school money for Central Florida. Send our best to the Florida Senate. Toni Jennings, we have more to do.
Just 2 hours ago, Allied Air Forces began an attack on military targets.
President Bush said today that he reassured Mr. Yeltsin the United States would stand by democracy.
If revolutionaries and terrorists are armed with nuclear and chemical weapons, it may pose new challenges to the president.
In a world where we're just one unknown dictator away from the next major crisis, who do you most trust to be sitting in this chair?
When Clay Henderson is elected to the Florida Senate, the first thing that Volusia County will see is change, a change for the better. Clay Henderson.
I represent change, and I understand change from a grassroots level. I understand the frustrations of people in dealing with our government, and I try to find ways to solve those problems instead of trying to find ways to create more barriers. I want to go to Tallahassee to be part of the solution instead of being part of the problem.
Clay Henderson for a change.
We almost lost the Orlando Naval Training Center this year. If it wasn't for Bill McCollum, we probably would have. Those Washington bureaucrats never knew what hit them. Let me tell you, that Bill McCollum's a fighter. He came at him from all sides. Talk about a full court press. The Magic should have one as good. And when they tried to put the new Veterans Hospital in Brevard, Bill McCullum fought the bureaucracy to bring it to Orange County. Bill McCullum's a fighter for us in Central Florida.
I'm Bill Tolley. I'm running for Congress because I'm concerned about the corruption and gridlock in Washington. We must replace career politicians with real people. With the terrible recession and politicians voting to raise taxes, we must make major changes. That's why I favor term limits. We need real leadership and not politics as usual. I'm Bill Tolley. I'm a businessman, a family man, and we need to change how government works. If you believe like I do, I need your vote.
It's getting harder and harder for small business people to afford health care.
My supplemental insurance paid.
Bob Graham knows our families face a crisis in health care.
We've got to come to grips with the health care issue. We can't afford to be spending 30% more each year for health care coverage. We're going to bankrupt companies, families, the whole nation.
His plan, better prevention, cost containment, universal coverage, and long-term care for older Americans. Bob Graham, working for Florida.
Senator Richard Langley's abuse of power at the expense of an innocent young girl's reputation is a sordid story. Here are the facts. On official Senate stationery, Richard Langley asked a judge to give a convicted child molester a lighter sentence because Langley claimed she had flirted with her attacker. Flirted? The man attacked a child senator, knocked her to the ground, physically attacked her, and worse if you read the record. Prosecutors were outraged, the AP said, but Langley just didn't get it, and he doesn't belong in the Florida Senate.
Tallahassee's got to wake up to the problems facing people today. These are tough times and none of us can hide from them. My brothers and I run a family business. I worry about making a payroll and paying for my employees' health insurance costs. New, intelligent decisions must be made to create jobs, to reduce taxes, to improve our schools, health care, and police protection. I have solid, workable plans to solve these problems. On November 3rd, let's work on this together.
Send our best to the Florida Senate. Tony J.
Chaos, trouble, angry voters, confusion at the Orange County Supervisor of Elections office. I'm Ed McDonough. As your new Supervisor of Elections, I'll end overspending, bad management, and voter frustration. I'll save money through county-wide purchasing. I'll cut office costs through efficient management. And I'll take voter registration opportunities to our schools and shopping malls. This year, it's time for a change. Make this vote count. For a new Supervisor of Elections, vote Ed McDonough on November 3rd.
It's a matter of trust. Wayne Byrd, candidate for sheriff, claims a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland. But according to the University of Maryland, Byrd never attended and never received a degree. Wayne Byrd, candidate for sheriff, claims to be a respected lawman. But Byrd was fired by the Orange County Sheriff's Office for mismanagement, bad administration, and running amok. We can't trust Byrd's resume. We can't trust Byrd's record. Can we trust Byrd with our lives?
It's the same kind of barnyard deal we've come to expect from the politicians in Tallahassee. Locke Byrd had barely taken office when he managed to get into the public trough, grabbing 4 state contracts that have already paid his company more than $71,000. But wait, there's more. First, Locke Byrd admitted that the deal was with the state, and then he said it wasn't. First, he said the Ethics Commission had okayed the deal. Then he said they didn't. Then Locke said no conflict is involved, so he didn't have to disclose the deal at all. Maybe so, maybe not. Either way, it's just not right.
Russ Perot, politics as usual.
Our great nation is sitting right on top of a ticking bomb. We have a national debt of $4 trillion. 70% of this debt is due and payable in the next 5 years. This is a bomb that's set to go off and devastate our economy, destroy thousands and thousands of jobs. The two other candidates have told you to just ignore the ticking. They've given you plans that will only delay dealing with the issue. But I've spelled out a solution that will fix this problem starting now. In a few days, you must decide if we should pay our bills and create jobs or just hope this mess will go away as we go over $1 billion deeper into debt every working day. This is a critical time. I know you don't want to waste your vote this year. The fact is, you are wasting your vote this year if you elect a candidate who continues politics as usual. I will not do that. I will deal head-on with these problems. I will fix these problems. Cast your vote for your children.
Ross Perot for president.
Thought much about vitamins. Now you got me thinking.
Bill Clinton's economic plan, endorsed by over 600 economists, including 10 Nobel Prize winners, as the best hope for reviving the nation's economy. More than 400 of America's most respected business leaders say the Clinton plan will create jobs. A panel of independent experts convened by Time magazine concludes that Clinton's plan has the best solutions to our economic problems. And now even the author of Ross Perot's plan has endorsed Bill Clinton for president. Let's get our economy moving again.